Welcome, everyone, to Get Noticed, Career Branding Masterclass. I'm Shira Lotzar, delighted to be your host this evening. We have lots and lots of folks joining us and very excited to support you in your branding efforts. Tonight, I have a few friendly buddies who are helping me with chat monitoring and such, Vern and Alki and Karen. And so here and there, you might hear them kind of call out and ask me a question you might answer or kind of let me know what's going on in the chat. All right. So with that, no further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So we talk about branding. You're here for Career Branding Masterclass. What is a brand? I know there are a number of marketers on this call, so you could probably give me a little dissertation about this. But what I'd love to do is kind of start with some logos, some brands that are pretty well known. So just a little icebreaker. I'd love for you to share with me in the chat, and Vern, Alki, and Karen will call out whatever you share. When you see this logo, the Ritz-Carlton, what do you think? Give me an adjective. How would you describe this brand?
Expensive.
Expensive.
Luxury.
Luxury.
Plush. Royalty. Fancy in the chat.
Yep.
Elegant.
Yep. What else? Anybody know about how they engage their customers? Anybody know their tagline?
Customer oriented.
Customer oriented. Their tagline is, and they actually train their people on the following phrase: "We are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen." They all know it inside out, upside down. In fact, I once got to see a little trifold that they give their employees. It not only says that at the top of the trifold, it has like 20 different explanations of that. And like every morning, they go through this to make sure that everybody really adopts the brand and lives the brand out with the guests. Okay. So, Tom's of Maine. Put in the chat. Give me some examples, some adjectives that you think of.
Natural toothpaste.
Natural. What else? Adjectives. How would you describe the brand? What are they trying to showcase to the world? Who are they trying to be? How do they want you to experience them? Very different than Ritz-Carlton, right?
Very simple.
Simple. Okay.
Authentic.
Organic, accessible.
Accessible. What else?
No
Someone said
frills.
fresh.
Yeah. And maybe environmentally friendly, right? Sustainable, right? Environmentally conscious. And what about Southwest? Completely different brand.
Cheap, but safe.
Cheap but safe. Okay, that's interesting. Cool. What else?
We have customer friendly, confused.
Customer friendly. Yeah.
Value.
Value. What about the word fun?
Yep, that's in there, sure.
Fun is in there?
Several people said chunky.
Yeah, Anna and John.
So, it's funny. I have a little story. Many years ago, I was on a Southwest flight. And for those of you who've been on Southwest, you'll appreciate this. So the flight attendant was joking like the whole time, right, on the air. It was really funny. And so at the very end, we've come in and the wheels touch the ground. And we just start, right? We start taxiing. And as soon as we did, you know how when it touches the ground, it's like goes fast and he's like pulling back. And so the flight attendant, he gets on the intercom and he goes, "Whoa, Nelly." Right? He did this whole horse thing. And we bust out laughing, right? Well, not for nothing. A number of years ago, I got the opportunity, it was a privilege really, to interview one of the HR execs at Southwest. I was doing a presentation on something and I got to interview her. And she explained to me that their values are very clearly laid out in their interviewing process on their website. And there are 3 values. What they want everybody, when I say everybody, I mean from the CEO down to the people on the ramp, everybody to have the following 3 values: a warrior spirit, a servant's heart, and a fun-loving attitude. And they actually interview on this. And so I just, I found a video and I'd like to share it with you. And there's a reason why I'm spending so much time here on the front end talking about branding. And the reason is because we're going to start talking about personal branding. But first, I want you to get this concept of what is a brand for a company, because a company is trying to showcase their value to you, the customer. And they're trying to do it in a clear way, in a consistent way, in a constant way. And everywhere you go, they wanted you to put in the chat the things that you put in the chat. These are not no-name brands. These are real brands that have been spent decades wanting to create that kind of value proposition for you. And I want you to be thinking about the same thing when you are considering crafting your brand to your colleagues, to employers, to your current employer, to future employers. You have a brand to, you have value to add. And so what I want to do,
Shira,
yep,
before you start the video,
yep.
there's several comments in the chat that said there's a black bar at the top and it's covering part of your slide.
Oh, one sec.
And there's one at the lower left-hand corner too. Seems intermittent.
I think it's your controls for Zoom.
Okay, I just hid them. Are they still
Yep.
there?
No, it looks
They went
okay.
away?
Well, the one in the bottom left is still there, but the one
Mhm.
across the top is not.
Okay. Apologies for the one on the bottom left. That much I don't think I can help, but I just got rid of the top. Okay, are we good now?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I'm going to play this video. It is, just beware, it's 2 minutes long. So just sit tight for 2 minutes, but it's a lovely video. And when you listen, don't just listen to the Southwest video. This is not a commercial for them. I really want you to think about your own brand. How do you show up in the world professionally, even personally, but we're going to talk about professionally tonight. How do you want people to describe you? If you were to do a video on you and your professional superpowers and the value that you add to the world, what would it sound like? And I just think this is a beautiful representation. So just keep that in mind as we go on with tonight. Okay, here we go. Makes you want to go take a Southwest flight, right? I thought it was just a lovely video. So I'm hopeful that you started to think about your own brand. And so I'd like to actually share a quote with you that I think is just a really lovely way to describe a brand. I'm going to read this to you very slowly and intentionally. And I'm hopeful that it's really going to help you to kind of internalize what a personal brand is. So personal branding is a way of clarifying and communicating what makes you different and special, and using those qualities to guide your career or business decisions. It's about understanding your unique attributes, your strengths, values, and passions, and using them to separate yourself from your competitors or peers. In this sense, personal branding means clearly communicating, and this is my highlight in blue, the unique promise of value that you have to offer your employer or your clients. And if you know me for any length of time, I'm always talking about superpowers because I believe that everybody has them. We are all divinely gifted to serve the world with purpose and passion. In fact, my tagline in my company really reflects that. For every hire, there is a higher purpose. I really believe that with my heart and soul. And I believe that everybody on this call is divinely gifted to serve, and frankly, to serve with love. And your unique promise of value can show up everywhere you go. It shows up in your work. It shows up in your networking. It shows up in your interviews. It shows up when you volunteer. It shows up in your life, your personal life, everywhere. And tonight is really an opportunity to professionally explore what that looks like. So the first thing that I want to talk about is service, right? And when you're thinking about your brand, one of the things to think about is who do you serve and how do you serve? Who do you serve and how do you serve? Now, notice I'm not yet talking about what do you do. We'll get to the what do you do, but I want to talk about who and the how first. And the ways that I want to talk about this, and again, this is a common theme of mine, is what I call lane and community. So your lane is what you do, right? It's kind of how you serve, and your community is who you serve. And the reason why I'm breaking this down is because, frankly, this is one of the main ways that professionally people brand you. For an example, I know I have a lot of my association colleagues on the call. Woo-hoo, shout out. And we know that the association community is a community. Now, there are a lot of lanes to that community. We got lots of people on this call with different lanes. We got folks in membership and education, marketing, government relations, whatever, however you serve, you're in different lanes. But the reason why I'm mentioning that, regardless of your community, I'm mentioning associations, but it could be anything. You could be in the financial services community, the government, environmental nonprofits, commercial real estate, higher education, whatever it is. But people who gather together in a community, they think a certain way. They have a certain lens on life. If we could all unmute ourselves, that would be great. Thank you. Vern, Alki, and Karen, if you could kind of go through the boxes and just make sure that people are on mute for me, that would be
Yeah,
fabulous. Thank you.
yeah.
Or the bar is back, by the way, too.
And the
Oh, the
black
bar.
bar is back.
Oh, that's right. I apologize. That is for me to hide my controls. Okay, better?
Well, I'm wondering if it's when we're admitting new people that it shows up, or,
I think that was just me when I came back to my slides, I forgot to hide my
okay, all right.
Okay, we're good now? All right. So when we talk about a community, right, we're talking about people who see the world in a certain way, certain industry trends, certain jargon, right, certain ways of engaging with customers, members, clients, whomever, a certain way of speaking, almost like a family, almost like being in a certain country, speaking a certain language, and you know it, right? Like again, we in the association communities, we talk a certain way. We talk about membership, recruitment, retention, and engagement, and people outside that community would have no idea what I just said. But that's okay because we're all connected, right? But we all have different lanes. And when your community is looking at you, they're thinking, first of all, are you part of us, right? Are you part of the family? Do you speak our language? Now, how do you serve within that community? Now, I do want to mention something. Not everybody has a community. That's fine. Some people, for example, maybe you're in human resources, maybe you are in marketing or in accounting or what have you. You may not have a community. You might be cross community. You might be cross sectoral, which is perfectly fine. You might be wanting to change your community. I know plenty of people who do that. I've had coaching clients in the past. One of my lanes is career coaching. And I've had coaching clients in the past who've wanted to shift from corporate into the environmental nonprofit sector. I've helped them do that. Well, they had to go dive into that community. They had to make themselves known in that community. They had to go to chapters, meetup groups, get post on social. They had to really show that community that they were vested in that community, that they were learning the language of that community. So I'm mentioning this, I'm pausing here because it's really important when you're thinking about your branding to think about community. And oh, by the way, for our federal friends, which I'm sure we have some on the call tonight, you're probably shifting community, right? You're probably thinking, well, gotta leave the government. Do I go to nonprofit? Do I go to for-profit, right? You have to learn about a new community. But your lane is your profession, right? It's what you do. So your lane is going to be marketing or project management or customer service or membership or whatever it is. Okay. So just be thinking about both of those as we're going through the conversation tonight. All right. So there are 3 C's of personal branding. I'm going to hide the controls again.
Sure.
Yep. I hid the controls.
I'll give you a signal.
Okay, so clarity, right? I apologize for the technical issues tonight, everyone. So the clarity, so being clear about who you are and who you're not. Sometimes in personal branding or in professional branding, people will sort of say, oh, well, I want to be all things to all people, and I don't want to miss out on opportunities, FOMO, that kind of thing. I'm open to everything. Well, we're not really open to everything. What's more important, though, is that unless we are very clear about who we are and who we're not, people are not going to know how to refer us opportunities. They're not going to know how to engage with us in our community. They're not going to know what our specific value is. It's very, very helpful to get very, very clear who I am and who I'm not. It really helps to separate and define you in your branding. Consistency is another one. To steadfastly express your brand across all communication vehicles, what am I talking about? Well, certainly on LinkedIn, right? We all know that's our professional branding of choice. And to make sure that if you're going to be on LinkedIn, that you're there on a regular basis, that your resume is consistent, that if you want to do social posts on any other platform, that you're doing it with some consistency. And that there's constancy, that you're always visible. And visibility, by the way, does not just mean in a digital way, right? Certainly there's a huge relationship component to this. And going back to my association community, for those of you who are not in the association community, but let me just let you know, and I'm sure I'll get a lot of head nods from the association people here, that it's a fabulous way to network. There is an association for everything, right? We know everything. Truly there is. In fact, if you don't know that, just to prove me right, if you want to take your profession or even your industry and just in Google, just say, such and such, and then put the word association in, hit enter, and sure enough, I'm sure you're going to find an association for you. A lot of those associations have local chapters, particularly here in the DMV. You might be able to plug into one and find your people, whether that's people in your lane, what we call professional societies, or trade associations, which are a little harder to get into because they have corporate members, but even so, sometimes there's individuals. But the point is that you can hopefully plug in and find the people who you can showcase your value to. All right, so I'm going to get into the core of what we want to talk about tonight. And that is an exercise that I call passiontivity. And if you've coached with me before, you've heard me speak, this will be very familiar to you. But for those who are not, I want to spend a little bit of time here. And this is a signature exercise that I have, and I use it in coaching. I use it in recruiting. I use it in workforce planning even. It's a wonderful opportunity for all of you to think about your skills and your motivators and how you want to distinguish your lane. This is a lane exercise. You can use it for community, but this is mostly a lane exercise. So what I'm going to have you all do right now, because we are going to actually break out in a little bit and get you all to be engaged in this exercise. I'd like y'all to grab a sheet of paper. Okay, so grab a little sticky, but hopefully a real sheet would be better. And I'd like you to first of all, just write down what you see here, just the four little boxes: high motivation, low motivation, high skill, low skill. I'm going to give you just a few seconds to do that. And now I'm going to walk you through the boxes, okay? So in the upper right box, we have high engagement. So what does that mean? These are the hard skills, functional skills. When I say hard and functional, I mean things that you do. Meeting planning, membership recruitment, project management, financial analysis, customer service, board engagement. These are practical skills that you engage in. They could be strategic, they could be tactical, but they are things that you do, not how you do it, not the fact that you're organized, strategic, and detailed, not that, but more that you are, but more the functional skills that you do. And this is where you are highly skilled and highly motivated. In other words, you feel extremely competent in these skills. You also love to use them. It's what I call the big smiley face emoji. Okay. You lean into this and it's a get to. It almost doesn't feel like work. That's how much you love doing it. The next box is stopgap work. Oh, by the way, let me just press pause for a second. For those of you who actually have done this exercise with me, even recently, it's always good to do it again. Things change, right? So this could be a little bit of a refresh for you if you haven't done this in a while. All right, stopgap work, high skill, low motivation. These are the skills where you're then highly skilled and low motivated, meaning you're perfectly competent in the work, but it's work that you tolerate, right? Does not get you up out of bed on Monday morning. You will do it, you will not complain, but not something you want to lean into, and certainly not skills that you want to highly brand yourself around, right? The third box is a very interesting one. I call it professional development. And if you notice, there's a little sub box in there. And there's two different labels for this: want to and have to. Let me slowly and clearly try to explain, because I know I get some confusion around this. In both cases, you are highly motivated to learn these skills. You're highly motivated, but for two completely different reasons. Reason number one, you might want to. The want to box would be the get to, the skills that would make you delighted to learn more about. Let's just take AI for example, right? That's always the elephant in the room these days. For some of you, learning AI, in fact, I know Karen's one of them on this call, one of my volunteers, that's a want to for her. So she already knows a lot about AI, but I am sure she would love to know more about AI because she's just that kind of, she just loves it. She loves technology and she's innovative and all these things. For others on this call, it's going to be in the other box. Have to, should, ugh, right, AI again, right? For some of you, the have to might be managing budgets or public speaking or whatever it is. But notice my body language, right? It's a should. It's a shuffle your feet on the ground. It's two completely different reasons for wanting to learn something. And then low is disengagement, right? Where you're not skilled, not motivated. These are the things that completely and utterly drain you. It is opposite of your brand. It's opposite of high engagement. A lot of people don't even have anything in this box because people just don't, tend to work in the areas of disengagement, but it's good for you to know. And you also realize anything that you have at the bottom of this page, the stopgap work and the disengagement is low motivation. The only difference is that on the stopgap side, you actually are highly skilled. And in the disengagement, you're not skilled at all and you don't want to be. So before I have you before I have you go and work on this exercise, I am going to give you some other language around this. And I'd like for you to label the boxes in the following way. In the upper right is A, the bottom right is B, the upper left is C, and the bottom left is D, okay? But before I have you do this, I'm going to give you one more little sub exercise. And what it's going to be is what it's going to be around really focusing in your high engagement box, your A box, in two ways. And this is another concept that I always talk about. And it's what I call the difference between ing and Ing is the skill, like writing. Is the profession, like writer or event planning, event planner, or that kind of thing. Project management, project manager. Okay, you get the idea. Well, the reason why I say this is because if you go back to your A box, what you put in your A box might be an opportunity for you to lean in to either a specific brand, because there might be something in your high engagement box that is really, you're so engaged in it that you want your profession to kind of lean in that direction. It might even be that you want to completely change your career direction because of something in your high engagement box. So let me give you an example. Many years ago, I was coaching a woman named Jacqueline, and we did the Passiontivity, and she's a nonprofit executive. And she came to me thinking she just wants to be a nonprofit executive again until we did Passiontivity. And she does her A box and she's reading it out to me. And it has the things that you would think, board engagement, this and that. But it also had one more thing. It had event planning. And I, had her go through the list and I said, well, I want you to do the ing and filter over this, meaning I want you to look and see, Jacqueline, in your high engagement box, are there any skills that totally jump off the page to you that you love doing so much that maybe you even want to lean into it more full time? And she looks and she goes, oh, and she got big eyes and practically jumped across the table. And she goes, donor event planning. I said, what do you mean? She goes, no, you don't understand. She goes, I'm the best at donor event planning. I mean, we laugh, we cry, we raise all this money. So good am I at this thing that I got nonprofit executives from across the state that are asking me to help them plan their events. That's how great I am. And I said, Jacqueline, do you think maybe you might want to start a business around this? She goes, yes, actually, I would. And so humanimpactevents.com was born. Okay. But that all came out of this high engagement A box. There's a lot of goodness that can come out of this box. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you some instructions now for you to work quietly. And again, even if you've done this with me before, do it again. It's always a good refresher. Things change. I'm going to teach you how to fill out the boxes. Okay. And then I'm going to actually put you into breakouts. Okay. And they're going to be very, very small breakouts. I know we have a lot of people on this call tonight, but I'm going to try to put you in groups of 2 or 3, really, really small. And I'm going to give you some instructions for how you can share your boxes with each other and help each other kind of elucidate your brand. All right. So here's how to fill this out. Right. So first of all, just to repeat, I'm looking for hard skills, not soft skills. What you do, not how you do it. Yes, you would say project management or customer service or board engagement or strategic planning or things like that. I'm not looking for you to say I'm organized, detailed, and strategic. So not the soft skills, just the hard skills, number one. Number two, look at your whole career. This is not just about whatever your most recent job was. This is a career exercise. Number three, it's very likely that the right side of your page will be more filled out than the left side of your page because people tend to work to their strengths. And then finally, when you're stumped, you're done. When the popcorn stops popping in the microwave, you're done. But I normally, if I was just, coaching somebody, I would just say, hey, take your time, of course, for the sake of, our webinar tonight. I'm just going to give you a few minutes to do this, like 3 or 4 minutes. And then when we're done, I'll mention that, and then I will then go into the instructions for the breakout, and then we'll do a breakout for probably about 10 minutes or so, and then we'll go into the rest of the presentation, right? So ready, set, and work on your passiontivity, and then as soon as you're done, or as soon as I call time, then we'll keep going. And I am going to stop the share for a while while you guys work on it, so I can do some logistics in the back. About another minute. All right. So what I'm going to do now is walk you through the instructions, and then we'll go into the breakouts. Okay. And I'll go through them one by one, and then you're certainly welcome to. In fact, I would encourage you actually, once I've put them in the breakouts or once I've listed all of the instructions, to take a screenshot. I can also put it in the chat, but if you could just take a screenshot, that'll just be easier for you since you won't be able to see this in the breakouts. All right, so here we go. So the first thing that you're going to do, in fact, I actually would like you to do this right now before you get in the breakout. So right now, just take another 15 seconds. I'd like you to rank order your A box, your upper right box, high engagement, based on the skills you love using the most, not the skills that you are best at, not the most competent, but the skills you love using the most. Okay, just take 10 seconds, 15 seconds to do that. So if you have, and you don't have to do if you have 10 things, you don't have to rank order them 1 through 10, but at least the first few. Okay, first view.
John asked a question too about for the ones you're torn on, can they straddle the line or do you need to move them to a box?
Yeah, and what's interesting about the straddling ones is that there's probably a reason why they straddle. Let me just give you a quick example. The one that comes to mind is event planning. So for those of you in the association world where there's a lot of event planning that's done, you'll notice that, for like a small organization, you'll have one person is doing both things. They're doing the program development, but they're also doing the hotel contracts, right? So the actual event, the meeting planning. Well, it might be that someone like that might straddle, between high engagement, low engagement because of what they like to do. So maybe they would want to put program development in the high engagement and the hotel negotiations in the stopgap. Does that make sense? But yes, you're certainly welcome to straddle, but just be thinking about, well, why are they straddled? Is there a part of the skill that you like to do more of or less of, and why? Okay. So that's the first thing is rank order. Okay. And then now this is the actual instructions for the breakouts. You're going to just there'll be probably 3 of you in a room. That's the way it looked like in my breakouts. I want you to person 1, 2, 3. Okay, so person 1, I want you to share the list with your colleagues and just say my A box, B box, C box. And the C box, remember there's want to and have to, and then the D box. And then I want you to then broadly, this is important, I want you to broadly describe the types of challenges you enjoy solving using your A box. We're not going to really go into the B, C, and D very much. The B, C, and D for purposes of this discussion are really just contrasting boxes. So so person 2 and 3, when you're listening to person 1, be listening for themes because you'll hear when they say what they say in the A box, all the other boxes are going to be kind of a contrast to that, or mostly. So you're going to kind of start to hear who they are. And then person 1, I want you to broadly think. You can even think right now, what are the types of challenges I enjoy solving using my A box superpowers in general? Okay. That really has to do with the kind of value that you want to provide in your professional life, right? What are the problems you enjoy helping people solve? And then which skills might you need to lean into more intentionally so that you can solve more of those types of challenges? This would be the professional development side of things. It could already even be in your A box. It's just that maybe you want to lean more into it, right? You want to sort of grow and develop into those skills. And maybe even you want to, whether it's skill building, maybe even you want to become more of a thought leader in that area. But I want you to be really, really thinking, what are the challenges you solve and where do you want to be leaning in? Okay. So everybody go ahead and take a screenshot of this slide. Okay, great. So now get to put y'all into the rooms. And yep, so go ahead and grab your room. I'm going to put you in there for 12 minutes. Hopefully, pretty quickly, you can just jump in and just pick a 1, 2, and 3, and then just divide your 12 minutes up into 4, 4, 4, and just, kind of go through your questions, and then we'll come back and we'll do some call outs. Okay? Ready, set,
Can you
and
just
here we go.
show that box again really quick?
Oh, wait. Sorry, I'm going to close out all the rooms again. Sorry. Forget what I just did. You want me to show the box again?
The thing that you said to take a screenshot.
Okay, sorry. So let me share that with you.
And
Oh, sorry. Did you get it?
Yeah,
your
I'll wait for
control,
you.
the box was
It's
blocking
okay.
it.
The black box was there, but I can figure it out. Thank
Here,
you.
hold on 1 second. Sorry, I'm so sorry about the black box thing. Here, can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
There's one in the middle of the screen. One more time. It could be because of the Southwest thing you showed the black box and South.
Oh, maybe that's it. Okay.
I mean, I was being facetious about the black box on a plane, but
Oh, haha. All
yeah.
right.
So now there's 2. Now it's gone. Okay.
It's okay
good.
now. Thank you.
It's okay. All right. So I actually I started putting people into the breakout rooms, but then now they're back. All right. So sorry for those who quickly got put into a room and then I pulled you back. We had somebody who needed a screenshot. So we're good now. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and for real put you into 12-minute breakout rooms. Here we go. gonna move Paula to 13.
So John, Mummy,
I
and
just
Kim, I
moved,
guess, are
I
waiting
just
to
moved
be.
some folks around. Oh, we need to move V Richards and to move him to 20. Okay, I think we're good. Let's go ahead. Get back in there. Yeah, I see some association peeps are saying the hellos. All right, here we go. Let's jump back in. Oh, actually, before we jump back in, and just real quickly, we don't need chat for this. If you'd like to just raise your hand and share a takeaway from your group about yourself that you learned, about somebody else. Was this illustrative, enlightening? Tell me what you learned. Just put up an emoji hand, and I'll call on you. Nicole, what'd you learn?
Sweetie. It's not, it's good
It's
to
Nicole. It's Nikki. Oh, hi, Nikki.
Yes.
My friend Nikki. Nikki was, by the way, Nikki was my matron of honor at my wedding.
Yeah, there was totally not enough time in smokers.
Okay.
So, I, did get hit. My hair is different. That's what happened. So I'm driving, but real quickly, it was so nice it was great to go through this exercise because even if we weren't sure if we did it correctly, I learned a lot from other people
Good.
about their careers or what they're doing at this time. And what I liked about it for myself is that it helps me continue the personal brand outside of work. So if I work through this and I say, okay, I like teaching, I like educating, I like sharing, I like meeting people, then I can take that across the board. What am I doing in my personal life that
Mhm.
continues to add value in these different areas?
Yeah.
And then what are my strengths and weaknesses in my personal life that are kind of blending into my business life and making that a challenge. So I really enjoyed this workout.
Good.
This
Excellent.
exercise.
Good. Thanks, Nikki. All right. Who else wants to share? About yourself. Maybe you learned something about somebody else. Maybe somebody shared a story.
So I can go, Shira.
Sure.
So I did this exercise with you, I don't know, maybe like 6 months ago, and have been, networking a ton. And I just did it again. And it was helpful to your point earlier. It was helpful to do it, because I feel like I've learned a lot in these past few months. And some of the answers were probably different if I went back and looked at what it was like
Yeah, we
months
changed.
ago. So it was helpful just as a refresh.
Good. Yeah, good. And just by the way, just to share with you all, especially for those of you who are leaders, hiring managers, even if you're in HR, this is a very repurposable exercise. It's not only coaching for you, right? If you interview people, you can use it as the beginning of your interview. I do all the time with my candidates. I'm always asking, I'm taking them people through this exercise because I want to know if their motivators line up with the needs of the role. Okay. And by the way, if an employer doesn't do this with you, which most wouldn't, you can do this for yourself so that you can figure out, right? Do you align with the needs of the employer? And then also you can use this as a workforce planning tool. If you are a hiring manager and you have a team or part of that process, you could help people realign to different seats on the bus, as it were, based upon their motivators in addition to your business needs. Okay, so it's a real multi-purpose kind of a thing. All right, so let's go ahead and keep on going, and we're going to start talking about resumes. All right. So branding your resume. Let me go ahead and take this control off. All right. So when
There's
we
still a couple bars.
couple bar, okay, I just took off the floating controls. Top bar should
Yeah.
be gone.
There you go.
Good. All right.
Yep.
So branding your resume. Now, let me say something about branding your resume that I think is going to be very important. And it's what I'm going to call the difference between, ready? Here's one of my metaphors, the allspices resume and the recipe specific resume. What do I mean by that? Most people don't realize this. that when you create a resume, um, the employer sees your resume through their lens. They are specifically looking at your skills and your accomplishments, your brand, your value, as it specifically relates to their business needs, which means you cannot and should never give an employer a generic resume. Can't, shouldn't, never. You must tailor it. Now, I'm going to show you a resume template that I use that is very tailorable, but here's the concept. When I say all spices, what I mean is the resume that you create at first, the one that's sort of like just saved in your files, should be the all spices, the every spice in the kitchen cabinet. But you pull out the cumin and the paprika, you tailor it for when you make a certain kind of dish, okay? So just be aware though, the tips I'm about to give you generically, all of them are about creating the all spices resume, the master document, if you will. But then you should be able to then tweakify, right, and tailor based upon the specific opportunity. Now, I do know, I recognize, by the way, on this call, we have different kinds of people. We have active job seekers. We have people who are considering a job change. We have small business people. In fact, the two people who just spoke, Ronnie and Nikki, are both have small businesses. So everyone's going to listen with a different lens, but I'm hopeful, even if you do have a small business and you're thinking about your website, you're thinking about your branding, your networking, again, you've got to tailor everything to the specific client or to the specific employer. So, but here we go with resumes. So the first thing is really defining what I'll call a lane/community career headline. What do I mean by that? Well, right at the top of your resume, just like an advertising document, you have, right, this section, this title, if you will. And I want to say big, bold, 16 point kind of big, okay? That is going to frame the rest of your resume. It is the first thing that the employer is going to see is there alignment between what this person wants to do and what we need them to do. And so I like to call this lane community simply because the employer has a job that's a lane and the employer is part of a community. Now, it might be that, again, you're not a community person. It might be, again, you are cross-sectoral. That's okay. But if you are part of the community, you're an environmental, marketing leader. You are a healthcare IT executive. You are agricultural trade association professional, whatever it is. You can put the lane and the community together if you are that person. If you're not, that's okay. You can be like a B2B marketing professional, okay, or B2C marketing professional, or B2B digital marketing professional. And you don't have to have a community, but if you do, this would be the place to do it. And again, I will be sharing with you an example. Second thing, in a sentence, not a paragraph. No more career summaries. People don't read them. They are a little bit of wasted real estate. I just say like a sentence, succinctly describe your brand by showcasing the problems you solve. I'm going to be giving you an example of that. But as you figure out your brand, to me, that should actually be the very last thing that you put on your resume. Because as you're thinking about things, as you're writing your accomplishment stories, as you're sussing out your brand, the last thing you should do is it's almost like a little bit of an elevator pitch, in one sentence. And again, I'll give you an example. But it's a place where you can showcase your value, okay? But not a long paragraph. Again, people just don't read it. And certainly, please don't put, if you are of a certain age, do not put 25 years of experience. First of all, that ages you, but besides which is irrelevant to employers, they just want the goods. And the goods are also not, I'm a team player, strategic and detailed. Everybody says those things, but something that really expresses your value is going to be a good statement. Again, I'll give you an example. List your branded competencies. What I mean by that is, and this is your all spices resume, okay, not the tailorable one yet, but the branded competencies are the skills basically that are mostly in your A box, if you want to know the truth. That's really what I'm talking about. The skills that you want to lean into. You want to have some version of a text box, right? Some section that actually lists those out. Again, you're going to tailor. And of course, there's always the other duties as assigned in a job description. Skills that may not be in your A box, they might be in your B box, and you have those skills and you need to list them and you can list them and that's fine. But for your all spices, I would just keep it kind of pure and aspirational and just put your branded competencies. And then finally, I'm going to say create result action accomplishment stories. What do I mean by that? Well, some of you have heard probably in the resume storytelling world of some formulas. Some people say, call it STAR, situation, task, action, result, or PAR, problem, action, result. I like the one that's called CAB, challenge, action, benefit. Any which way, it's a story. You want to start in offline, right? Like in a document, and just put down your stories, your CAB, what I call the CAB stories, challenge, action, benefit, the story. However, your resume is not going to be the full CAB story. It's going to start with the result. You delivered something, you improved something, you reduced something, you streamlined something, whatever you did. And then secondarily, an action that you took, how you did it. So it's a result and an action. And by the way, and I'm a resume writer, so I'm taking from my own advice here, but different resume writers have different ways of doing this. This is mine. And by the way, a metric is always helpful. Everybody loves the metric, right? The money, the percentage. I appreciate very much that not everybody has metrics in their accomplishments. There are a lot of jobs that frankly don't really have them, and that's okay. But just try to lean into some sort of tangible outcome, okay, of what you've done. Something that someone can, oh, wow, you made a difference in that job through this, right? Some sort of outcome statement. Okay. So I'm going to give you a sample here. And the sample I'm going to share with you is by permission. Some of you in my association community know a gentleman named Sal Chires. Hopefully you're smiling when you hear that name because he's lovely. And he's a client, and he gave me permission to share the old version of his resume when he first came to me and the new one that we did together. I will be sharing with you just little snippets of both, not everything. All right, so old version, here we go. So this might look very normal. Maybe some of you have a resume like this, like, right, that long, chunky paragraph that's successful this, I'm proficient in that. And then you see down at the bottom a whole bunch of, plain bullets, a lot of job duties in here. I created this, I hosted that, I did this, I did that. Yeah, some accomplishments, but not really, powerful. Again, very just sort of a bulleted list, ba, 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 doesn't stand out, right? But then again, most people don't know to do anything different. This is a very normal resume, okay? So we went through the whole passiontivity exercise and we went through the branding, all of this, and this is the first piece of what we came up with, okay? So new version, here we go. Totally different thing. And so you can see, I created this top section. So he's an association membership leader. And for anybody who knows Sal, this is very true about him. This is not just jargon. He is both a relationship-focused systems thinker. He is truly, truly both. He is as affable as the day is long, but he's very much about systems, right? He's also about team building, leading diverse teams and building consensus. For what purpose? To optimize infrastructures that innovatively propel recruitment, retention, and engagement of members and components. Okay, now that's all association jargon. If you are not in the association world, you will have absolutely no idea what I just said. Okay, but that's okay. It's not meant for non-association ears. It's supposed to be a little jargony. That's okay. Now that's because he's also a community person. If you are not a community-focused person, maybe you're in IT or HR or whatever it is, that's fine. But you want jargon that speaks to your lane, right? It's okay. Let's say you are in marketing. And you have a technology lens, you're probably going to want to use the word MarTech. Well, if anyone's not in marketing, you would not know that I just meant marketing technology, but marketing people know what MarTech is. And so it's okay, and I would encourage you to think about the jargon that is specialized to your lane, or again, and your community. And then there's the competencies here. Okay, so again, these should be customized, but these are the kind of competencies that are relevant for him. And then this is how we did his accomplishments. Okay, they're fewer, but they're juicy. So he grew membership from 5,000 to 7,000 in 3 years, and he used multi-channel outreach efforts and this and that, drip campaigns and what have you. He preserved the continuity of a student competition by doing XYZ. He successfully onboarded these regional executive directors, so forth and so on. Okay, so they are they're substantive, but more importantly, everyone, I want you to notice something that is different than his original. And it's actually one of the most important things you could do in your resume. And it is what will make this resume tailorable are the labels. Member recruitment retention, volunteer succession planning, component engagement. Those little bolded labels are the key to this resume. you can customize there. And again, you can customize and should customize in the competency section. You map back the competencies to the accomplishments, and you can tweak, tweak, tweak. Because oftentimes, whatever story you come up with, often it actually could be related to what the employer is looking for, but maybe they need a different label, right? So it might be that, here we call this first bullet membership, recruitment, retention, student engagement, but actually this could actually have this could be labeled marketing, some like a marketing campaign because he used drip onboarding or whatever it was. The point is that he could potentially shift it if that was part of his brain. It's really not, okay? But if he needed to do an appropriate label, he could have made it that way, okay? So I wanted to show you this is kind of how you do it, right? So remember, start with passiontivity, think about your branded skills, think about at least for your, what I call, remember the allspice resume, all of the different branded competencies that you want to put in there. But then again, you want the recipe specific one, right? You want to be able to tailor everything, okay? All right, so that's my quick overview of the branding side. Now we're going to jump into LinkedIn, and I am trying to be mindful of time. All right, so LinkedIn branding, super important. It's important across the board. It is important whether you are employed, yet to be in transition, self-employed, just want to network. It is hugely important. It is your professional tool. I mean, look, how many of you have ever gone to a networking event and want to be introduced to somebody? What do? We pull up the app. Oh, so-and-so, right? We put their name in, and then we see what do they do. And to the extent that your about section and your experience section is fully fleshed out, that's how your colleague is going to know whether or not they need to connect with you or how to connect with you. Are you aligned in your lane, in your community, in your interests, all of the even thought leadership, right? Okay. So here are some tips to create what I'll call a credible, searchable profile. And I'm going to talk about this on different levels. So first of all, using keywords that are related to your lane community. Just like with the resume, you want to be specific. Go jargony. It's fine. You don't need to write a LinkedIn profile that's very, very generic. Go specific. Focus, focus, focus. I like to say that every person, every W-2 employee or job seeker is an Inc. Okay? So you are Susie Inc. or Frank Inc. or John Inc., meaning it's as if you are in a small business. Why? Because when you are focusing on an employer, they are like a client, right? You have a target market that has certain needs. And again, has certain lingo, certain language, certain jargon, right? That they're listening for and they're looking for. Get very as specific as you can when you are doing your profile. Number two, writing a searchable headline. What do I mean by a searchable headline? Well, if I had time, I would stop share and I'd go into LinkedIn and I'd show you that. But what I mean by the searchable piece is that, as you might know, on your LinkedIn page, there is a search bar in the upper left-hand corner. It's kind of hidden in plain sight. A lot of people simply use it for putting in the name of somebody, right, that they're looking for, but there's so much more that you can do with it. And I know because I'm a recruiter, and we recruiters use that search bar all the time to go find people. What do? We type in, this is on the recruiting side, and if you're a job seeker, listen up for this one. What we do is we put in a title. So if I'm doing a director of marketing search, which I do, I would put in the search bar, director of marketing. I probably would put in director of marketing association because that's mostly who I search for. And then what would come up would be a long list of all these people. And what are the first things in the headlines of all these people? It'll say director of marketing, marketing director, da, 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 da. That's what I mean by searchable. Be cautious, be careful, be thoughtful in the beginning of your headline to put in something, first few words, something that is as close to the kind of role that you are looking for. Because if somebody's going to find you, namely a recruiter, they need to find you because that's how LinkedIn's algorithm works. The algorithm works based upon the title. That's what it's putting. If you put a title in, that's what it's going to search for. And that's what recruiters do rather than something very, very generic, or certainly not, seeking new opportunities. That's wasted real estate. So try to do something that's very, very searchable and not just the first few words around your title, but also, or even aspirational title, but also, the keywords that are relevant to it, right? So if you're in marketing, right, again, digital marketing, MarTech, B2B, B2C, all the things, again, use the jargon so that the person really understands where you fit into their space. And then crafting a compelling about section. And by the way, I'm going to be giving you examples of all of these things. This is just a high level overview. Crafting a compelling about section, I believe in that. I really do with my whole heart. Most people don't know how to write one. Most people were never taught that they should write one, a compelling about section. If people have an about section at all, it's usually about 3 lines, 4 lines, X years of experience doing Y, X, almost like a little bio. Okay. Nothing wrong with that per se, but it's not compelling enough to let people know who you serve, how you serve, why you serve. Notice the emphasis on service, right? So I'm going to be sharing with you an example in just a minute of what I'm talking about in terms of creating a compelling section. Then fleshing out your experience section. Again, if somebody's looking at your profile, whether it's a recruiter, whether it's a colleague at a networking event, whomever, it's really, really helpful for them to see your fleshed out experience, namely your resume. Now, I don't mean upload your resume. I just mean cut and paste your accomplishments into your experience section so that when people are looking down the page, they can see what you've done. And by the way, in case anyone has a thought in the back of their mind that's like, well, Shira, but you told me that I need to tailor my resume, but my LinkedIn is static. Well, that is true. And so my workaround to that is, remember the little labels that I encourage you to put next to your accomplishments? Well, what you can do is simply take off the labels and stick those into the accomplishment section. Okay, if you want something that is more tailorable, you could just take off the labels. And it happens to be the example I'm going to give you doesn't do that, but mostly you should be just a clean accomplishment story, and therefore your resume is the one that's going to be tailorable. And then finally, skills and recommendations. So there is a skills section. Some people call it the endorsements. I used to not be a big fan of them because I'm like, oh, if people endorse you for things, it doesn't really mean that you do them. I'm like, I get endorsed, for like temporary staffing. I don't do temporary staffing, FYI, but I get endorsed for it for some reason because LinkedIn puts me in the staffing recruiting world and they just toss that out. However, and you do have to clean that up. However, what I have learned is that LinkedIn's also, in terms of their algorithm, they sort of reward people for having skills that are related to the brand. So if you are a marketer and you have marketing skills that people endorse, that's a good thing. It's more likely you're going to come up on page 1. Okay, so don't overlook that. And then recommendations. Really, they can be so helpful, so important. And number 1, you can't have too many. Get as many as you can. I don't know, I have over 50 or something. Like, people just get people to recommend you appropriately. Supervisors, colleagues, board members, clients, if you're a small business owner, where people can say some very, very thoughtful things, not just good things, not even just great things, but things about you that are related to your brand. It's very, very important. That's why we keep talking about branding this whole time, so that when you're asking for a recommendation, you're actually saying to the person, look, I want you to look at my new about section, or, hey, I'd love for you to talk about these kinds of attributes, all related to your brand. If you're trying, for example, to have a brand that shows how strategic and have foresight and you're visionary and all the things, and the person ends up writing this wonderful story about how organized and detailed you are, that's going to be a little off brand. So you got to be intentional first to know your brand, then be able to let your recommender know how you want to be recommended. Okay. So I'm going to give you some tactical examples here of different ways you can shift things. So here's a woman, Marissa, who's in the environmental world, and she created a collage. This is her pictures that she created when I asked her to do something that was, going to be reflective of her brand. She didn't go generic. She actually said, "This is who I am, and this is who I am in the world." And I really recommend finding or creating a background picture that really does reflect your brand. Okay, so this is an example of that. Here's another one that I absolutely love, my client, Michelle Mason, who's in the charter school world. And this is just a fabulous picture. And it just shows who she is, right, with the kids. So this is a real picture. It doesn't have to be. You can find it on, a freebie. And by the way, please do not upload a picture just from Google. Can't do that. There's copyright issues. You want to go to a royalty-free site like Unsplash or Pixabay, Pixabay. There's lots of them out there. Those are a couple. And find something that's appropriate for you. And then again, writing a career headline with the words that describe what you do. I know this is very, very tiny, but like Richard, director of communications as the first few words. And then, he says, we say, crisis in executive communications, internal communications, external relations, or Dan Moss, environmental government relations professional, legislative and regulatory affairs, right? So some keywords that are very specific to the brand. Now, here's the example that I want to share with you about the about section. And again, Brian knows that I talk about him. So here's my little story about Brian. So you see Brian's big big old smile. Well, that is Brian all over the place. He is a very, very happy guy. He's also an IT guy. And not all IT people have that particular personality. He does. And it's actually a big distinguisher for him. And I kind of knew that about him, but it really became super clear when we did his resume. We did his resume first in the LinkedIn second. And here's why that was important. When we were doing his resume, and I was asking him his CAB stories, right, his valuable, accomplishments and such. What kept coming out is he would say things like such and such, cross-functional collaboration and team building and inclusive decision making, blah, blah, blah. And I stopped him halfway through and like, oh my goodness, Brian, this is your brand. Like this is your unique value. And I think this is what we need to lean into in creating your about section. In other words, we're not going to make it a techie kind of resume. We're going to really speak about the fact that you are a relationship builder. It is one of the more distinctive things about you. And so this is what I wrote for him. Now, this is very small, so I'm going to read it for you. And this opening line was really interesting because apparently this is something that he regularly says to his team. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this has got to be the opening line. And so this is what I wrote for him. People change the world. Technology should make that easier to do. And by the way, I want you to listen for the relationship theme here, okay? As a CIO, my job is to translate the work of IT into a business framework that delights customers, mitigates risks, and advances mission. Blending business savvy with a people lens, I take the mystery out of technology, making it an approachable, trustable resource that empowers leaders to serve their constituents with confidence. Because at the end of the day, brilliant business strategies are only as good as their ability to get across the finish line. IT teams make that happen. My philosophy: ask often. Technology decisions are more fruitful when seated in collaborative ground. Stay agile. Culture should be willing to adapt technology to stakeholders' changing needs. Listen first. Business owners who are heard before advised are better advocates. Goals matter. Prioritizations about delivering the right value towards the right KPIs. Bridge silos. Process improvements should reduce friction and increase collaboration. And then move mission. IT teams should give people the best tools to do their best work together. You see the theme. And then my leadership style, as you might imagine, I communicate complex things simply. I respect that perceived risk is real risk. I listen well, equip people with choices and so forth and so on. Okay. And then let's connect. A little tip for you all. If you want to be found, okay, and especially if you want recruiters to contact you, I do recommend putting your email address in your LinkedIn. However, if you want to be mindful of bots and things like that, what you can do is you can do your email address, but you use, instead of the @ sign, the actual @ sign, you use -AT-. And that's kind of bot proof. Okay. So just like, Shira Lotzar -AT-Gmail, that kind of thing. Okay. So that's the about section. All right. Now, these other little tips I'm going to go through super fast because these are just literally tactical things. If you have certifications, put them in your headline. For example, PMP is one of the most classic ones. I know, Karen, for example, you're in PMP. Recruiters, when they look for a project manager, oftentimes all they'll do is just put PMP in the headline, in the search bar rather, because they know PMPs are project managers. So if you have one, or ITIL, or any of these things, even CAE, for association executives, put it in right next to your name because it becomes more searchable. Okay, I'm just mentioning it for searchability. Okay, so here's an example of fleshing out your job description in your experience section, right? Just make sure that it's pretty fleshed out. And again, recommendations, we talked about that, really just having people write something that's very, very thoughtful. Okay, now we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about showcasing your value to colleagues. Okay, so this is a whole other kind of level here. So beyond your resume, beyond your LinkedIn, all of these things, I want you to be thinking about yourself as part of a professional cohort. You are, whether you know it or not, you are. Now, these people may be invisible to you, but they are all around you. Whether you're in the project management world, whether you're financial services, whether you're K-12, whoever you are, there are people around you who do what you do, who have professional problems and personal, by the way, but we're going to lean into professional right now, that have professional problems that you can uniquely help them solve. I want you to all be go-givers. I want you to be go-givers, not go-takers. I want you to always be thinking about who's around me that's facing a something that I might have a superpower in, I might have a lens in, I might have a resource, I might have a connection, I might have an article, whatever it is, but think about other people first and how you can identify their problems and solve them. Engage in groups. I recognize there's some folks in this call that might be more introverted than others, but that's okay. Oprah Winfrey is an introvert, by the way. She is. You can engage, and I would invite you to engage, whether it's digitally or whether it's in person or both. In LinkedIn groups, very easy to find them. If you just put in your lane or your community or both, hit enter, and then there's another bar, and one of the buttons on the bar says groups. You can typically find a LinkedIn group to get involved with. As I mentioned earlier, associations often have chapters and conferences and things like that. Meetup groups, right, are great. You can also create your own group and take it from one who loves to do these things. I start networking groups for fun. I have created an HR group, association groups, job seeker groups. I love doing that. And again, not everybody's a connector convener like I am, although I know Paula, my friend, is on the call here. She's like me, fellow connector convener. And for some of us, it's a little easier to do, but do know people want to get together, especially now, right? With the loneliness epidemic. People want to get together. They want engagement. They want socialization. You could be the person to pull your community or pull your professional lane together and just create a little mastermind group, a little best practice sharing group. Could be very informal. Doesn't even have to be topic specific. Just get people talking about ideas and ways that they can help each other. If you're a social person, right, you want to create some content, go for it. Really. These days, we know video is a little bit more friendly and is sort of is easier for LinkedIn, right? They kind of reward people more for videos than they do written, but either way is fine. If you just jump in the pool and do something. And also a little tip for you on LinkedIn. You get rewarded by LinkedIn more if you comment on someone's post rather than reposting. If you just repost, it's like, but they love it when you comment because it shows that you're actually putting in some original content. So that's just a little tip. And then finding public speaking opportunities. I know not everybody likes to do public speaking, but for those of you who do, they're all over the place. There are all kinds of nonprofits and associations who would love to get a speaker. And you can do what I'm doing right now. Create your own webinar. How hard was this? I created an Eventbrite, hit send, sent it out to my colleagues, and here you all are, right? There wasn't a lot of work, but if you have something meaningful to share with the community, feel free to either, get yourself on someone else's agenda or create your own. Okay, so showcasing your value to employers, all right? Again, demonstrate how you can be the solution to their challenges. Your engagement with employers, particularly in interviews and also on the job, right, is about them. It's not about you. Yes, of course, you are the other side of this equation. Absolutely. What your motivators are important. Look at passiontivity, right? All that's important. Your culture is important. It's compensation. You are the other side of the equation for sure. But they're the other side of the equation too, right? And so when you are on the job and when you are in an interview, be thinking about them. Have what's called an outward mindset. If anyone wants some great reading, there's a book called The Outward Mindset by a company called the Arbinger Institute, Arbinger. Great book. It's basically how can you be the solution to somebody else's needs, wants, and challenges. It's an outward mindset, okay? So in an interview, I recommend taking what I call a rear view, or thinking about a rear view mirror and a windshield approach to the interview. What do I mean by that? The rear view mirror is frankly where most employers take the interview. They'll say things like, and they'll ask what we call a behavioral interview question. Describe a time when you did X, tell me about a time when you did Y. Okay, so those are normal questions. We're all kind of expecting them. However, when you are answering that question, you need to be prepared to showcase your relevancy in these three areas: your high engagement skills, your subject matter or industry expertise, and your accomplishments. But what I mean by that is that you might come prepared in the interview to talk about accomplishments ABC or skills PDQ, but you need to tailor all of that to the employer, to their questions, to their needs. The needs of it, the needs in the role, the needs in the team, the needs in the organization, maybe even the needs of the industry. But you need to be very, very specific because the employer is listening for that. They want to know how you can add specific value to them in their moment of need. So again, goes back to the resume. You've got the allspice, but then you got the recipe specific. So in your allspice, oh yeah, you're talking about your accomplishments and you've got all that ready to go. Or the analogy I like to use is arrows in a quiver, right? So you got a whole bunch of arrows, you got a whole bunch of accomplishments, those arrows in your quiver. But when they're interviewing you, they got a target, they got a bullseye right in front of you. And they're like, please point your arrow to our Bullseye. Please answer this question. They don't say this, but this is what they mean. Answer the question in a way that is relevant to us. Showcase the specific skills we need. Show us that you're a SME, a subject matter expert in this, accomplishments that are relevant to us. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's how you take a rear view mirror. But this is the thing that is actually a missed opportunity for most people, and that's what I call the windshield view. And this is where the employer may not even prompt you on this, but you need to prompt yourself. And the windshield view is about the future. It's about the future. And I have, as a recruiter, I have prompted my candidates to do this in a way very proactively. Sometimes I'll have them do presentations or an onboarding document or whatever, where you can offer ideas. And what I call, I don't just mean offering ideas, but in a humbly confident way, a non-presumptuous way, about challenges you've heard about in the interview and or researched in advance, okay? People want to know how you think. They really do. And if you do this in a non-presumptuous way where you say things like, well, how about, or might we consider, or here's an idea, what, Mr. and Mr. Employer, what do you think about this? Have you ever tried something like this? I was listening to you in the interview and you mentioned strategical X, Y, and Z. Hey, what I was thinking, now maybe you were thinking in advance of the interview, in which case you bring some ideas, maybe you formalize, maybe you do a little deck, like a 10-minute presentation if they allow you to do that, or a statement, or maybe even extemporaneously. But I will tell you that I have seen over 30 years of recruiting how many times people have just set themselves apart. I mean, really set themselves apart by doing this. And it's happened to me recently. I placed a director of communications and I had all the finalist candidates do like a little vision statement, what have you. And the person who got the job blew everybody out of the water with her ideas. They were so strategic. They were so amazing. It was literally no contest. Okay. But that only happened because she did something that was, really thoughtful and forward thinking. And then also show your adaptability by spontaneously brainstorming challenges that surface during discussion. So you're engaging back and forth. Hopefully you create a game of tennis with them, not racquetball. Racquetball is they cue you A, they cue you A. But in tennis, right, it's a conversation. If you can create a conversation, you can spontaneously adapt, say, oh, wow, that's really an important point. Let me pivot right to that and then brainstorm with them a little bit and ideate with them a little bit in the interview. Okay. On the job, this is just a little quick tip. Listen for white space. A lot of people in meetings, right, will think about, okay, what's my role? And I got to report out on this and I got to, I want you to think about the white space in the meeting. I want you to think about what's not being said. Or I want you to think about what was just said, that maybe there's some value that you can offer. And that is one of the ways to add value. And that is one of the ways certainly actually to build your brand in the organization is by being that person who is proactive, that is anticipatory, who's not just doing your job, but you're trying to be a thought partner to everyone else in the team. And that means also engaging cross-functionally, right? So if somebody else has an initiative, I don't mean jump into other people's lane. I know we can't like step on toes, but there are ways to do this where you are leaning into your superpowers and you are adding cross-functional value. Also, consider strategic organizational pain points, not just your department, right? Think broadly. And I know some of you on this call are already executives and that is your job. But if you don't consider yourself an executive, whatever level you are, you have an opportunity to add value at a macro level, not just in your role. And then also notice industry trends, right? I mean, be thinking about what is going on in the sector that I serve and how can I add value, on that level. Okay, so that's the presentation, and we are 2 minutes from closing. Wow, that's amazing. Got to right to 7 o'clock. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually share with you how you can engage with me. And I'm going to do this in a very intentional way because I do get questions after presentations like this. Well, what do you charge? What do you this? And what do you offer? And all the things. So I'm going to share with you 2 different things. First of all, free support. Okay, I'm all about, as you see, very much about serving the community, and there are different things that I offer. So first of all, I have every other Friday a community service group for job seekers. It's called Hire Moment Mastermind. It meets every other Friday from 9:15 to 10:15 Eastern. It's a combination of an open Q&A as well as some networking where we actually now have people open up their LinkedIn and share, first level connections, and it's really lovely. Vern and Alki are my 2 other volunteers there. We lead this together. So actually, would one of you, Karen, Vern, or Alki, at the top of the chat, if you remember before we started the call, I put a whole laundry list of things in. You can go ahead and put that in the chat. And because I'm going to keep sharing all of the things that I offer. Okay, so then also free job search videos. This is the link for that. And this presentation is going to be on that page within the next day or so. And then for those of you who are 50 plus and are considering self-employment, I do have a website called boomerworks.org. And beginning of COVID, I started to do monthly presentations and offer folks, brought a whole bunch of speakers on every aspect of self-employment. There's like 50 plus videos in there, so you're welcome to that. If you would like to invest in formal support, I'm going to get very specific here because again, I know people do have these questions and normally in an exploratory call, I answer them. I'm just going to take the time with all of you and answer it at once. So career coaching, okay, that is the lane that some of you might be interested in. This is the link that has kind of my range of services. I'm going to go through them very, very quickly. It is everything from the branding to the job search, right? So if you're interested in branding yourself and doing the passiontivity with me and figuring out your lane, your community, your aspirations, your brand trajectory, we do that. I can write your resume, can do your LinkedIn profile. I can help you with networking strategies, how to really leverage LinkedIn and kind of learn how to fish, right, in your fish pond, interview prep and salary negotiations, all of those things. I do charge an hourly basis. I'm going to put that here. It is on this page too, but just in case you're thinking about it, I have 3 different rates. One for people who make under 100, it's $250 an hour. For folks who earn between 1 and 220, it's $350 an hour. And then folks who earn over 220, it's $425 an hour. And then in terms of how many hours, it depends. I would say most people end up going in sort of like the 8-ish hours with me, but it's fully flexible. We can pull it apart. I can do budget-friendly packages with you. There's different things that we can do. And then if you want a free 30-minute consultation, just to talk, you're welcome to do that. This is my Calendly link. And then the one other slide here, and that is if you would like executive coaching or leadership coaching, I do that too. And I also do small business coaching. So lots of coaching opportunities for you, free and fee and everything in between. So with that, 701. If you'd like to connect, here is my contact information. But again, in the chat bar, hopefully one of my colleagues just put all of that in there. You can reach out. Please, at the very least, link in with me so we can stay connected. So, fire hose. This was helpful for everyone.
One person did ask Shira earlier, is this deck going to be available?
Yes, thank you for asking that. What I will do is when I post the video, what I'll do is I will also create another link, a PDF of the slides, so everyone can see that. All right, I know we don't have a whole lot of time for questions because we're right at time, but I'm hoping this has been helpful for everyone. Thanks for your participation tonight. The video will be posted, Cam, on my right here. I'm going to put that in the chat for everybody again. It'll be on this. It'll be on this page. Oh, wait, chat.
Lots of people saying thank you. Great presentation.
You are very welcome. It is my pleasure. God bless everybody. Good to see you all. And I just put in the chat where the recording will be. Oh, John, you had something to say?
Yeah, I was Alki just answered my question. I was asking when you said every other Friday for Higher Purpose Mastermind, I was just asking which is the next Friday, but he said you did it last Friday.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we did it last week. And so the next one is going to be on the 10th. On the 10th. You're welcome to join us for that. All right, everyone. Have a blessed evening. Good to see everybody and look forward to talking soon.
I'm trying.
Thank you.
Thank you. Still, take pictures of the links.
Oh, okay. I will. Then I'll stay put here for a few minutes if people want to continue on and pull from the chat box. All right.
Thank you as always, Shira.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shira.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Shira.
Thank you, Shira.
Thanks, Shira.
You're welcome, Howard. Good to see you.
Nice to be with you today. Great.
Yeah.
It's terrific.
Thank you, Shira.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. All right. All right. I think we're good. Yep. Everybody got the chat?
Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Bye
It was
now.
wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome, Alina. All right. Have a blessed
Bye.
night. everybody.
Thank
Sign
you.
off now.
Listen.
Thanks. Bye-bye. And thanks, Karen and Alki and Vern. Appreciate you guys.
Certainly, certainly. It was a great,
Sure
great
thing.
presentation as always.
See you again.
Have a good night. Bye.
All right, we'll see you all soon.
Nice seeing you again, Karen. Bye.
Bye. Bye.